Alright, let's read the secret reports. Let's do it. Dude, what is this book? Alright, I'm actually gonna read them, and then I've actually read most of these already. The ones that I just unlocked are the ones I haven't read, but they're pretty dope. So I hope you enjoy the secret reports. 3 years have passed since the game that caught the attention of the higher plane. Observation is still ongoing, but from the UG, it looks as if Shibuya is on the brink of catastrophe once more. I am forbidden from intervening in the game this time, so I'll have to settle for recording the changing state of both the RG and UG here in this report. The Executor first intruded on Shibuya 3 years ago. Originally from Shinjuku, this angel started a clandestine game with Shibuya's composer, which ultimately led to Shinjuku's destruction. He should have been reprimanded as soon as he arrived in Shibuya, but the elites are turning a blind eye for some reason, possibly because most higher plane denizens still oppose Shibuya's impurification. This game resembles said impurification in that it is subject to a set of extenuating circumstances, somehow keeping it in balance, which are as follows. 1. Difference of opinion and subsequent conflict on the subject of Shibuya's destruction. 2. The absence of the composer. 3. The game being played by 2 proxies. And 4. Direct interference by the Executor. Neither the Executor, who wishes for Shibuya to be destroyed and purified, nor the composer, who has managed to prevent this up until now, can directly intervene in the goings-on of the UG. If they wish to take action, they must do so via proxy. The Executor's proxy in this game is the conductor, Shiba Miyakaze, and the composer's is a human player, one Rindo Kanade. I will henceforth refer to Shiba Miyakaze as the conductor and Rindo Kanade as the proxy. Perhaps spurred by the appearance of the proxy, former Reaper Sho Minamimoto has resumed activity after an extended period of silence. Furthermore, I'm picking up vibes similar to those emitting from Shinjuku just before its purification. They are still faint, but I will keep a close eye on them. So basically, if anyone's curious, the dude, this has to be, it has to be the dude who hands Rindo the pin in the very beginning when he drops it. It has to be Joshua. It has to be. There's just no way it's not. He fucking hands him that pin. He's like, here you go, man. I bet he knows about the pin. I bet he fucking knows. That's like, hey, this pin can turn back time. Probably. He probably knows that, right? I mean, if Haz can delete Kubo that easily, then Joshua can also delete him that easily. I would imagine. So this is wild. It's actually wild, dude. It's actually wild. Okay, number 2. With a proxy in place of an acting composer, the game is affected in numerous ways, the most significant being the implementation of bogus rules by the conductor. One such rule is a division of players into teams, presumably adopted from Shinjuku's rulebook. Under the team system, whichever team earns the most points over the course of the week may choose to either continue playing or not. If they choose not to continue, they may return to the RG if they so desire. However, only the composer can send players back to the RG. The conductor has no right to implement such a rule, and no ability to carry it out. We know this from, if you've read the other secret reports, you also know that because Joshua was absent, they couldn't actually send Neku back to the they couldn't send Shiki back to the RG. So anyone who's read the originals knows this already. As such, it is in the conductor's best interest for the winning team to choose to continue playing. To assure this will happen, he has allied himself with a team clearly intent on continuing the game indefinitely, the Ruinbringers. Each team's relative value is measured against the others using their scores, and a loss for the team is a loss for each individual within it. It is unclear when these rules were first implemented in Shinjuku, but what is clear is that they seem specifically designed to eliminate players, counter to the objective of the game. Yeah, number 3. A new player has joined the Proxy's team. The inability of the composer and myself, the producer, to intervene puts Shibuya at a disadvantage. But this new recruit and Minamimoto may help turn the tides. The team's new member, one Nagi Utsui, is at once open-minded and closed off. Interestingly, this makes her the perfect foil to Tosai Furusawa. A healthy variety of personalities and abilities should benefit their team. The Proxy has started using his powers in earnest. I can scarcely believe someone could have such a powerful latent ability. Latent powers are unique, naturally occurring abilities awakened by tuning vibes. These vibes originate from the higher plane and resonate with the soul of an individual, tuning them into their dormant powers. Incidentally, these vibes are the same ones required for travel between planes. It is highly unusual for multiple players with latent powers to appear in succession. I suspect the pins found in the RG have been imbued with tuning vibes for the express purpose of seeking out such individuals. The more hands the pins make their way into, the greater the chance of finding promising new players. However, the Proxy's ability is a significant deviation from standard latent powers. It is far too dangerous. If I could, I would have ensured it remained dormant, for the sake of both the UG and the RG. It has the potential to not only warp, but demolish the lower plane's code. I wonder if the composer foresaw this, and chose his Proxy because of it. Yo, this is an interesting line. Because obviously, later on you find out that Shiba made these pins so he could find Neku. Like, the whole point was to try and get Neku into the UG. So I guess, while I was reading this, I was thinking Neku's ability is the ability to sync up with humans, right? That's his, like, thing. He can sync up with people. Like, others can't really do that, but, like, Neku can. That's, like, his thing. That's why he does the thing at the very end where he syncs up with all of Shibuya and stuff. I think that's his, like, special ability. Okay, number 4. So, what exactly is the purpose of the Reaper's game? Let us review. The explicit goal of the game is to locate exceptional individuals. Players of superior imagination are elevated to the higher plane and made into Reapers or Angels to aid in the oversight of their region. The UG is located on a higher plane than the RG. It is understood to be the afterlife, as the soul is modulated and relocated to the UG upon the death of the body in the RG. However, the Proxy and his fellows were brought to the UG unmodulated. They have already begun to suspect that something is amiss, in respect to both themselves and the Ruinbringers. The Reapers should be fighting for their lives, same as the players, but Shibuya's internal Reaper hierarchy is at a total standstill. 3 years ago, Shibuya's acting composer and conductor carried out a game to determine Shibuya's fate. The events that unfolded are now known as Shibuya's impurification. The hierarchical freeze presumably stems from opposition to the impurification. I detected a new set of vibes at the UG at the end of the day. It seems those pins have awakened new powers within someone and modulated them for entry into the UG, just like the Proxy. This time, it is someone the composer and I know quite well. This is wild. Okay, one thing I never really got was the Shibuya's impurification thing. Like, I thought if you read A New Day, or at least Another Day, one of those two reports, I think it's Another Day, he says that the Angels consider what happened after that game 3 years ago to, like, they considered Shibuya to be the optimal parallel world. That's wild to me. Did some disagree or something? Did he, like, lie? I don't know. Why? Did they change their mind over 3 years? It's just interesting. Okay, number 5. A turf war called the Scramble Slam has just taken place. The Ruinbringers declined to participate. If they had, they surely would have won, leading to a decrease in overall morale. I suspect this little diversion, which pits players against each other in place of noise, exists purely for the entertainment of the conductor. That's sick. This week marks the 104th game under the current conductor. The Deep Rivers Society, the Varia Beauties, and the Pure Hearts have all been subject to at least 30 loops. They are beginning to show signs of fatigue, presumably sensing the impossibility of victory against the Ruinbringers. Receiving the game as unwinnable has a marked negative effect on players' well-being. The Proxy's team may be able to avoid coming in last place, but the odds of them toppling the Ruinbringers to claim victory are slim. Although, anything can happen in this game. They may surprise me yet. Minamimoto has become aware of the Proxy's powers, and seems to be plotting something. Maybe it was a writing oversight. 30 loops though, man? Oof. Rough. Alright, 6. The Proxy's soul is beginning to change. Strangely, its evolution trends towards stagnation rather than development. It is almost as if the range of his vibes is shrinking. I believe this may be due in part to his readiness to adopt the opinions and values of others, mistakenly believing them to be his own. He seems to do this entirely unconsciously. He may never realize it is happening. Under ordinary circumstances, players in Shibuya's game pay an entry fee upon arrival, through which the composer offers them a chance to re-examine themselves. This game has no entry fee, which is whack. It's whack, dude. The Shinjuku rules neither encourage nor allow for personal growth or change, making the game just that, a mere competition to collect points to prove one's worth. The Proxy's stagnant soul makes him the perfect user for his latent ability. For better or for worse, he is able to maintain abnormally high levels of imagination, thereby increasing the accuracy of each replay. The pieces fit together almost too perfectly. I can only hope I'm overthinking things. Wild. Where's my entry fee, man? Where's my entry fee? Okay, number 7. The Deep River Society has been erased in accordance with the rules of the game. The souls of all members, including the leader, are gone. Their erasure runs counter to the goal of judging each player's abilities, but it is unsurprising considering the conductor's intentions. Upon witnessing the erasure, the Proxy's vibes have weakened once again. His increasingly hardened emotional state may be cause for concern. As suspected, the individual who arrived in the Proxy's moment of need was the source of the vibes I detected a few days ago. It does not appear as if the composer had a hand in the sudden appearance of our old friend. In sharp contrast to the ever-active executor, the composer is seemingly biding his time. Although I am unable to make contact to confirm, I believe the reappearance of this particular individual works in Shibuya's favor. Minamimoto, on the other hand, has all but vanished from the Proxy's side. His noise refinery sigil drastically heightens his imagination, which may be why he can clearly recognize the Proxy's abilities. I have an idea of what he's planning. It's dangerous, but I have no way of stopping it. Incidentally, Noise Refinery Sigil is a reproduction copied from its original by a certain Reaper. Its completeness, or lack thereof, may be a factor in the subtle change in Minamimoto's fundamental vibes. Talking about Coco reviving him. Number 8. 4 teams remain. The Ruinbringers, the Pure Hearts, the Varia Beauties, and the Wicked Twisters. Only one may survive and emerge victorious. At long last, the game approaches its conclusion. According to Shinjuku's rules, incoming players' abilities must exceed the total average imagination of current players for them to be allowed into the game. As the game continues and low-ranking teams are eliminated, the average rises, making it more and more difficult for newcomers to enter. With the Deep River Society gone, and the Wicked Twister's impressive latent abilities, the average imagination has increased dramatically. Only an immensely powerful player can be pulled in at this point. It can be safely assumed that the game will continue and conclude with no more than the current set of players. The game will continue into the week after next at longest, but the conductor has yet to contact the composer. It is possible he is unaware of the higher plane's purification protocol. If all goes according to the conductor's plan, he himself will be the victor of this game. You know, that's really interesting to me, actually. Did Shiba, when Shiba became conductor, did he ever actually talk to Joshua? Did Joshua ever, I wonder. Or did Joshua just, talk, get in contact with Kuba? And that's why they're playing, obviously that's why they're playing this game, but, that seems kind of wild, to me. You just kind of wonder what those 3 years were like. After they came, did Josh tell people like, yeah, well, I mean, no one knows who the composer actually is except for Hanekoma and the conductor. So like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, but it's just like wild to me. Alright, number 9. Our new arrival has joined the Proxy's team, almost as if filling the hole left by Minamimoto. Daisuke Nojo Bito, also known as Beat, was a player in the game leading to Shibuya's impurification. His fortitude is remarkable, as is his soul and imagination. He should prove a powerful ally to the Proxy. And yet the Proxy's soul remains stagnant. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to say it has stagnated further. I felt a similar shift 8 days ago when Minamimoto joined the team. If this is the fundamental immaturity of the Proxy's soul, it will be difficult to bring to light, unlike Neku's leading up to the impurification. Proxy initiated another replay today. The resulting drastic increase in planar distortions indicates that at this rate, an explosive increase is likely after only a few more uses. However, the Proxy's pin is effectively absorbing the distortions, preventing the UG and lower planes from being affected at this time. Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, they did say that she was the game master, right? But like, usually the conductor isn't the game master, but maybe because of how slim their ranks were, she was the conductor for a little while. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Okay, number 10. I need a quick drink of water. All of the Reapers stationed in Shibuya, including the conductor, would ordinarily be referred to as Shibuya Reapers, but ongoing conflict has caused those from Shinjuku to be called Shinjuku Reapers. Shinjuku's inversion 3 years ago jump-started its purification, forcing the Reapers there to flee to Shibuya. An inversion happens when the boundary between the UG and the RG is destroyed, forcing a purification. It occurs, albeit incredibly rarely, when the composer and conductor fail to agree on the purification. The composer's permission is not required for a Reaper to continue working in a new area. Such transfers are left up to the conductor. Oh! In this case, Shibuya's temporary conductor at the time authorized the transfer of all Reapers from Shinjuku to Shibuya. That had to have been Uzuki! I detect no sign nor vibes of the Shinjuku conductor at present. I assume he was destroyed along with Shinjuku. Once the purification has begun, it is standard for the conductor to be invited up to the higher plane. There is almost no evidence of a mass personnel transfer after the erasure of a conductor in the past. Almost. Upon reviewing the records, I managed to find 4 cases where the affected area had fallen into imbalance before its purification was decided. One of those cases is Shibuya's impurification. The composer should file a report on the circumstances leading up to Shinjuku's purification at some point, although I doubt he'll do a thorough job of it, considering his disinterest in the lower planes. With Shibuya's composer giving his tacit approval to the Shinjuku Reapers, Shibuya's Reapers have no choice but to follow the rules given to them. Regardless of the true circumstances, Shiba Miyakaze has effectively become the conductor through legal means, as he was judged to be fit for the role. Okay. This is the one I didn't have, right? I did not read this one. Yeah, I definitely did not have this. This is the one I unlocked. Okay. So, Uzuki was the conductor. I think. And then, I guess, Joshua said that Shiba was fit to be conductor in Shibuya. And so Uzuki got stripped of her role. So why did Joshua say that was okay though? I wonder if something, there'll be more information, I wonder. So it's not like it's not like they came and Shiba was like, haha, yes, I'm the conductor now. No, Joshua was like, yes, you are the most fit to be conductor here. You will be conductor. That's interesting. Interesting. Okay, number 11. Restlessness builds among the team leaders, and the Proxy's psychological state is far from optimal. I can only hope he will last the week. The team's base groove is abnormally low. In a system built around teamwork, such irregularities are certain to have a major effect on the outcome of the game. A network called the RNS was created specifically for this game. The ease with which it measures each individual's vibes and imagination makes it a useful tool for the management of both players and Reapers. However, making this information viewable also makes it accessible from the RG. It can only be found by those who know of the UG's existence and are sufficiently proficient with networks. No modulation is required to communicate between planes this way, though it is yet unclear if other issues arise as a result. It's possible that communicating through the network could inhibit imagination, just as the full meaning and imagination of a work of art cannot be captured on a screen. I am no longer active as Kappy, but if and when I resume, I must keep in mind how my works will be perceived when shared digitally, and alter my methods of expression accordingly. Perhaps the developer of the RNS could provide me with some insight in that regard. If you didn't realize that Hanekoma, that this was Hanekoma from the producer line at this point, this is it right here. Like, you would know immediately if you knew who Cat was. There it is. Okay, number 12. There has been a change in the Proxy's psychological state, as well as an improvement to relations between the members of his team. This is good news. However, the Proxy's soul remains stagnant as ever. I have yet to fully analyze the stagnation, as I am currently unable to take any action beyond observing and hoping for the best. By Shinjuku rules, Reapers are limited in the actions they may take. Of course, obstructing players is not allowed on a basic level. The primary enemies that players face are other players, namely those on opposing teams. Thus, any team aiming for the top must go through the Ruinbringers. The Proxy and his team are taking a different approach against the seemingly unbeatable Ruinbringers. To what extent it goes against the rules of the game remains to be seen. I doubt the conductor will sit idly by and let them do as they please. If he is forced to make a move, things will either end very well or very poorly. As previously stated, Reapers are not allowed to interfere in the game, and yet one of them is currently doing just that. It's possible that her Reaper status will be stripped from her, but where will that leave her once the game is over? I'm trying to think. Reapers can't directly attack players in Shibuya's game, in the original, but they could send out noise. Permitting the Game Master allowed them to. It's interesting. It's like their it's like their management. I mean, you can tell just from playing that, but you can kind of get a sense really reading these. They're just like management. They're like tech support. Yeah. That's true. Alright, number 13. The leader of the Pure Hearts, one Motoi Anazawa, has gotten himself into a dire predicament. While alive and online, he found himself a loyal follower in the Proxy. If Motoi Anazawa is to face erasure, it would likely have a significant effect on the Proxy, though to what extent remains to be seen. Online communication can result in negative or positive outcomes, just the same as face-to-face communication. However, the opacity and anonymity accompanying digital communication leaves its participants more susceptible to misunderstanding. It must have been quite a shock for the Proxy to see Motoi Anazawa's true nature, which was invisible to him online. As predicted, Shoka Sakurane has been demoted from Reaper to player as punishment for meddling in the game and directly assisting players. Reapers face very few restrictions on the RNS. They may interact with the RG freely so long as they do not reveal their identities. but should they be demoted, their account is deleted and a separate player account takes its place. With her old account deactivated, Shoko Sakurane is no longer able to interact with the Proxy as his online friend, unless she chooses to reveal herself as such. She has aided the Proxy via messaging up to now. With that option no longer available to her, her next course of action is unclear. Okay. 14. The conductor has made his intentions known to the players. Although it would be impossible for him to carry out his goal of destroying Shibuya merely as the conductor, he believes himself to be the executor as well, sent from the higher plane to purify the city. Pure hearts have been erased, as expected. Only 2 teams remain, discounting the Runebringers. With the Runebringers' true nature revealed, it is likely that the rules will change next game to reflect that the players stand to oppose the Reapers rather than each other. I have detected unique vibes emanating from a certain inanimate object. I found it odd that the old stuffed animal should show up, but as it turns out, it is temporarily housing a disordered soul. Shinjuku's conductor saved the soul it contains, paying the price with his own erasure. An angel's power is needed to free the captive soul, but there is still no sign of the composer, and I am forbidden from meddling in the game. I doubt the executor would be willing to help, considering he most likely trapped it there to begin with. Our only available options are to leave the soul imprisoned or locate someone else with the means to release it. I suspect the original creator of the stuffed animal, a player who managed to return to the RG 3 years ago, will be able to assist. Unfortunately, she is currently absent from Shibuya. Yeah! So Tsugumi's soul was put into Mr. Mew, like, during the inversion even. Like, as the inversion was happening, her soul was in Mr. Mew. Which is wild. Alright, number 15. The game's rules have changed significantly. Players, as well as Reapers or even the conductor, may erase their opponents after defeating them. At the same time the rules changed, Shiba made an unforeseen move against Shibuya, and inversion is underway. The noise released by the conductor have destabilized the code of the entire Shibuya region. The lower planes, including the UG and RG, are particularly unsteady. The code is a set of laws that binds together the souls that make up all of existence. Think of it as the screws which hold everything together. Some of Shibuya's screws are loose, and others have been removed altogether, leaving nothing to support the city but its own weight. In other words, Shibuya is on the brink of collapse. The deterioration of the boundary between the RG and UG is being hastened by rapidly multiplying noise. If the boundary is lost, the city will be torn apart and purified. There are a many in the higher plane who believe normal purification has no meaning, as it maintains the existing planar framework. However, it is generally agreed that inversions should not be utilized due to the complete loss of character the affected area undergoes, as its framework is destroyed and rebuilt. And yet the composer maintains his silence as Shibuya faces the same fate as Shinjuku before it. While Shibuya has undergone dramatic changes, the Proxy's psychological state is surprisingly stable. This could be interpreted as positive personal growth, as he has come to understand the situation he has been placed in, as well as what actions to take in response. Shoko Sakurane has joined the Proxy's team. Her extraordinary powers should make her a fine addition. This was a wild report, dude. Like, this page right here saying like angels are like, inversions, nah, maybe we shouldn't do that. Is why it's just. Okay. Number 16. One of the Shinjuku Reapers has been eliminated. I suspect the conductor saw this coming. Angels emit vibes strong enough to alter the minds of those in the lower planes. Reportedly, many Shinjuku Reapers have sensed a change in Shiba Miyakaze's personality over time. I wonder how he will feel about all this after the executor leaves and allows him to return to his former self. The Proxy has now used the replay ability 8 times, his pin absorbing the resulting planar distortions and changing appearance with each use. At present, there are no apparent adverse effects. I am concerned about the physical changes to the Proxy's pin. It may indicate some kind of fundamental difference from the other pins. Perhaps replay isn't a latent ability at all. It is far too powerful, and would make much more sense as a gift bestowed upon the proxy via the pin. The player pins were almost certainly made by the executor. As an angel, he would be able to prepare special pins at will. It is unclear when and how the proxy acquired his pin. Logically, it must have been on the day he arrived in the UG. All I know for certain is that several factors influencing the proxy's fate were in play that day. In any case, to give him such a pin knowing he is the composer's proxy would be either incredibly brave or incredibly insolent. This is another wild one. So, obviously, like, I kind of agree. You know, I don't think Rindo could do the time. I don't think it was Rindo doing the time travel. I'm pretty sure as you like kind of play through those final day 3 times, you're like, okay, it's the pin. Because he can't go back in time without the pin, which is why Hez fixes the pin, etc., etc. But it's interesting that he had that pin. Did Kubo make sure that Kubo made that pin, right? And made sure that somebody could travel back in time. Like, his whole plan was to get somebody to use replay to take all that noise and have it destroy Shibuya at the end, right? So did Joshua make sure that he got that pin? I guess it's just something to think about. Number 17. The Varia beauties have been erased. This is a major blow to the Proxy's team, as Kanon Tachibana provided them with vital emotional support. Tosai Furusawa's soul is clearly the most heavily affected, despite his fundamental evasiveness and unwillingness to show his true feelings. Once experience leads one to hold a certain belief, it is difficult to alter that mindset. This often leads to bitterness and anguish. I wonder just how much of his bitterness Tosai Furusawa will be able to bear facing. The answer may very well depend on the Proxy and his teammates. Still, this is no time for idle talk. The Proxy's team is the only one left. The conductor is oddly fixated on the team's unstable state. I would go so far as to say he seems more concerned with his enemies than the battle itself. As events unfold, it is not unthinkable that he might join forces with the Proxy. This is a wild line right here. This is a wild line right here, dude. Like when you think about it, like, yeah, he just tried to like make everyone be like super unstable. I was wondering, like, you just kind of think it's wild that Hanekoma draws this conclusion. With the conductor's plans laid bare, every Reaper, particularly the Shibuya Reapers, will be forced to choose a side. Some of them who know what I am occasionally try to contact me, but I cannot respond. I wonder which of the Reapers, like Koko, Uzuki, and Karaya, I wonder if any of those 3 know who Hanekoma is. Anyway, the Shibuya Reapers will need to grow and adapt if they are to overcome this. My old cafe on Cat Street, the one that served as my base 3 years ago, is always open to them. I hear that some drop by on occasion. Notably, the faint vibes I felt from Shinjuku have returned to their full former strength. Someone is coming. Someone who can help decide Shibuya's fate. Yeah, buddy. That's Neku. Okay, 18. Neku Sakuraba has returned to Shibuya. As I suspected, the vibes I picked up 17 days ago were his. Being the last team standing has provided the Wicked Twisters with a sense of unity, but Daisuke Nojo Bito appears to believe it is his sole responsibility to carry the team. I can't say he was wrong in his actions towards Minamimoto, but the fact remains that he most likely would have been erased by the X-Reaper had Neku not arrived. The team has narrowly avoided disaster. Let's hope they can carry on that momentum. Minamimoto's focus was purely on the planar distortions when he turned half noise and went berserk. He may not be able to clearly measure the distortions from the UG, but that he can sense them at all is an impressive feat. I suspect he is also becoming aware of the distortions within himself, along with the fact that these distortions should be undetectable from the UG. Minamimoto seems to have come to the same conclusion I have. Replay is too powerful an ability to be wielded by one from the lower planes. I am beginning to piece together the Executor's plan. One more thing that concerns me is the Proxy's soul. Its stagnation has returned in full force just when it seemed to might finally fade away. There must be some cause for this, be it the Proxy's fear of Minamoto or uncertainty surrounding his own interactions with Neku. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't put it past Karaya either. Minamoto is becoming aware of the distortions within himself. So wild. Alright, 19. Neku Sakuraba has joined forces with the Proxy. The composer had sent him from Shibuya into Shinjuku during his purification, presumably to have him handle the situation there and keep him isolated and safe from those who would target him for his abilities. As for the Proxy, his soul remains stagnant. I have yet to identify what exactly is preventing its growth. This would be much simpler if I could sit down and talk with him. After repeated demands, I have finally obtained the report on Shinjuku's purification. On the surface, the game involved a conflict between the conductor and the Reapers. In actuality, the composer, eager to purify Shinjuku, planted the executor amongst the Reapers to oppose and take down the conductor. This explains why the conductor was erased and the Reapers transferred to a new area. This is wild to me. What? This is wild to me. Like, was the conductor in Shinjuku just like on par with its composer? Like, was the composer like? Why did the composer need to plant the executor to take down the conductor? Why couldn't you have just been like, this is happening? I don't know. I need to read report number 10 again. Okay. Tsugumi Matsunae had her suspicions about the executor, so he sealed her soul away to be safe. She was once a Reaper, though the executor removed her status after she allied herself with her older brother, Shinjuku's conductor. In Shinjuku, to lose your Reaper status is to be erased. Knowing he was defeated, Shinjuku's conductor used the last of his strength to save his sister's soul in a stuffed animal. That stuffed animal belonged to one Shiki Misaki. A Shibuya Reaper must have taken it to Shinjuku. As a result, Tsugumi Matsunae became the lone survivor of Shinjuku's purification. Once more a Reaper, but sealed away and closely monitored by the executor. She acted through no will of her own, as her soul was trapped by noise. However, she was still able to send messages to the Proxy using her latent trailer ability. The noise binding her is now gone. If the damage to her plush vessel can be fixed, her soul will be free. Oh, maybe, Plane, you're right. Maybe it was his idea of a game. You might be right. This is a wild one because he writes about how he thinks the executor put Tsugumi in Mr. Mew before, but then he gets the report and it sheds light on the situation that she was put there by her brother to save her. Otherwise, she would have been erased. But obviously, it came with consequences because she got infected with noise, etc. You know, she got infected with noise and she couldn't do anything about it, so she was basically following orders because she had no will of her own and stuff like this. Wild. Okay, number 20. The Shibuya River is known to be a unique place, even amongst the entities of the higher plane. Its source is in Shinjuku, meaning it should have disappeared in the purification, and yet continues to float unseen in its own plane. What an excellent idea to hide souls there to spare them from purification. Kaiichi Suzuki loved the game and cared for his compatriots more than any of the other Shinjuku Reapers. His actions leave no room for doubt. Most of the Shinjuku Reapers maintained the close bonds they shared back in Shinjuku. I know not what kind of Reaper Shiba Miyakaze was before being warped by the Executor, but judging by the Shinjuku Reaper's unflinching devotion to him, he must have been exceptionally charismatic. It is yet unknown if Shiba Miyakaze will be released from the Executor's influence at the end of the game. Even if he does manage to return to his former self, he will be forced to face the tragic reality that the loss of his friends was brought about by his own actions. Neku Sakuraba is wary of the Proxy's powers. The pin continues to endlessly absorb the generated distortions. Absorb, but not destroy. They are likely being stored for some purpose. I wonder what the composer thinks of all this. There's still no sign of movement from him. Does he have a plan at all? Tomorrow, we'll tell. Joshua continuing to do nothing. Alright, 21. The planar distortions caused by replay were all a part of the Executor's plan to purify Shibuya. A condition of the Proxy and his comrades has taken a sudden turn for the worse. The ability to turn distorted energy into noise is entirely unique. It is likely latent to the Executor, either allowing him to create noise or granting him some comparable power. In essence, the distortions were once souls. They manifest from the thoughts and lost time of those whose timelines were cut off from canonical history. The Proxy's pin stores the distortions born from each abandoned timeline, causing them to behave similarly to their source thoughts and birth new distortions. In other words, the pin allows the distortions to grow and multiply with each journey back in time. The birds the Proxy saw are new distortions spawned from those stored in the pin, given an order-compliant and readily storable form. Generally, souls need a catalyst in order to take form. The Executor's pin must be the catalyst in this case, generating noise in advance and transplanting the distortion's imagination into them. The Executor is exceptionally adept at handling noise. There is a strong possibility that the noise's present bird form is temporary and will change at some point. If its shape is undefined and constantly changing, Proxy and his team have a tough battle ahead of them. Shibuya is in grave danger. This was a wild report. Also, glad that you can just kind of read the explanation instead of having to hear it from Kubo every time. Dude, this is one of the best implementations of time travel I've ever seen. I really like it. Like, there are some dope time travel stuff. There's some dope time travel shows and games out there, but I'm a big fan of this one in particular. I just kind of like how it was handled. That it just turns into noise. I don't know. I think it's kind of dope. Alright, 22. Shibuya has received a new visitor, one that even the composer must not have expected. It is the very same individual who drew up the report on Shinjuku's inversion. But why would he come to Shibuya? Probably not to take care of the Executor. Whatever business he may have, Tanzo Kubo can wait until after the purification. It seems that Shinjuku's composer, one Hazuki Mikagi, has eliminated the Executor's noise and given the Proxy another chance. I have an idea as to why. Shibuya's composer must be shaking his head right now. I have finally determined what was causing the Proxy's soul to stagnate, his fear of taking responsibility. When reliable allies such as Minamimoto, Daisu Kinojo Mito, and Neku Sakuraba appeared and took the reins, the relief of being freed from responsibility stilled Proxy's mind. Ironic that it was the famously unsympathetic composer of Shinjuku that led me to this conclusion. Shibuya now owes its continued existence to the Proxy's use of replay to undo its destruction. It is up to the Proxy to decide whether or not to turn back time. Undeniably has that right. Shibuya has withstood destruction, but now stands to face an even greater danger. The challenge before us is one we cannot refuse. This is why I did not know who Hazuki Mikagi was. I'm not gonna lie, in the trailers, I thought that dude was Swallow. To know that he's Shinjuku's composer is wild. Okay, 23. The Proxy's team faced a giant bird-shaped noise. It was reborn from the unstable black bird noise, which were destroyed at the order level and reassembled. This is a clear act of interference by Shinjuku's composer. It allowed the Proxy and his team to focus all their efforts on one target. That's wild, dude. That Phoenix Cantus is only because of Shinjuku's composer? Each feather on the Phoenix's tail is the karmic representation of a single temporal reversal. Perhaps this is a manifestation of the Shinjuku's composer's internal conflict. He has clearly taken an interest in the Proxy and his teammates, yet his desire to see Shibuya purified is unchanged. I believe that his interference, dealing with the Executor, contacting the Proxy, and meddling with the distortions, was more than a simple apology to Shibuya. It provided the perfect excuse for Shibuya's composer to make a direct move of his own. However, Shibuya's composer failed to take the bait, remaining inactive to the very end. His reason for appearing to Neku Sakuraba and the others as they connected to Shibuya's imagination was not to help them, but merely to stabilize Neku Sakuraba's mind by reminding him he was there. A look over the vibes recorded by the RNS reveals no evidence of any outside interference. The Proxy's team defeated the Phoenix Cantus through their own and Shibuya's strength. Damn. Damn. Okay, and I have not read this one yet. 24. This is the last one. 24. Now that the game is over, I finally have permission to contact the composer. Several days have passed since then, and the composer has already completed 2 orders of business. One of them concerns Neku Sakuraba. Using a sample from a parallel world, one where Neku never went to Shinjuku and instead lived peacefully in the RG for 3 years, the composer modified the space and memories around Neku so that he may once again reside in the RG without issue. This is not particularly unusual, as the same steps must be taken when returning a Reaper to the RG. The other order of business concerns Shoka Sakurane. The Reaper status lost, her destruction at the end of the game was all but assured. However, the composer saved her soul at the precise moment it diffused for deletion. She has been reborn in the RG in Shibuya. I believe this is a rare expression of gratitude on the composer's part. Gratitude toward the Proxy, that is. The Proxy has also returned safely to his life in the RG. Through him, I have learned much about the network as a simulated plane of existence, as well as its effects on human emotion. There is no denying its use as a tool to expand one's world. However, it is up to the user to explore and experience that expanded world for themselves, lest it remain a mere simulation. Enjoy the present and keep moving forward. Perhaps by refusing to interfere, the composer meant to convey to Shibuya the importance of accepting your circumstances and taking action yourself. I have one final note, directed at the Proxy, Rindo Kanade. The decision you made took courage, and I thank you for it. I sincerely hope we can meet in person someday. Damn, dude. Josh wins by doing absolutely nothing. What a G, dude. What the dude, what? This is some wild shit right here. He modified the... That's wild, because obviously the people who were in the UG, like, their shit isn't modified. So, like, Shiki and the others, they knew that he was gone for 3 years, but other people, other people, like, around Neku, they know. Like, they didn't know. He's just there. That's fucking wild, dude! But like you said, I guess it's not unusual. That's just what they do when they return people. That's kind of dope. But that's so wild, dude! Composers are fucking broken. Dude, you know what's kind of wild? This sample from a parallel world is probably a really nice nod to the anime, because in the anime, obviously, you never see a new day. It just ends like normal, and you would imagine that Neku lives fine, like peacefully in those 3 years. Wild, dude. Dude, the Shoka thing is wild. Joshua's broken, dude. This is the only thing you can say. This is a nice last report. Enjoy the present and keep moving forward. Sick, dude. I'm so glad the secret reports were in this again. Obviously, there's way less than in the original. And the original went way crazier, but I'm really glad that they took the time to do these, because these are still really dope. And I feel like it does fill in the gaps.